Critical thinking, metacognition, self-regulation. What is the difference? Wouldn't it be nice if we could just manufacture thinking caps and put them on all our students' heads and they're just wonderful thinkers from the moment they walk in the door? We can't do this, but we can develop thinking skills within students so that they always have their thinking caps on. Indeed, success in life requires not only the ability to think critically and analytically about one's own ideas and thoughts, but it is also necessary to think creatively in the generation of those ideas and thoughts, as well as have the practical abilities to be able to implement those ideas and convince others of their value. Critical thinking. Can you really think without thinking critically? To think simply means to have a conscious mind, to some extent of reasoning, remembering experiences, making rational decisions. In contrast, critical thinking is the mental process of actively and skillfully applying and coming up with a conclusion. I think of critical thinking as an overarching umbrella. Within this, all the other thinking processes kind of happen. It's a process of studying and evaluating one's thoughts and improving on them. So it's very similar to metacognition, but it extends beyond metacognition in that it includes analysis, comparison, justification, critique, and application. Metacognition. I'm thinking about thinking that I'm thinking about thinking that I'm thinking about thinking. Because that's what metacognition is all about. Thinking about thinking. It focuses on a person's thinking about cognition. We can also address the what, when, why, how of metacognitive skills. I like this illustration of the ladder. When you begin at the bottom, you're just looking at what kind of thinking is being done. Then you focus on how the thinking is being done, and then the ways that the thinking is being done effectively, and then start to plan how you can use that same thinking in the future. Self-regulation. I must control my thoughts. I must stay on task. Self-regulation is very similar to metacognition, but it's not really focused on thinking about thinking, but on regulating your learning and the learning outcomes. So it's focused a little bit more on planning, monitoring, and assessing learning. This is a great illustration that shows the 3 phases of self-regulation. Begins with forethought and planning. You analyze the task and you set goals. Then you, throughout the task, you use strategies to make sure you're staying on progress and monitor. And then finally, you reflect on your performance to make sure that you met your learning goals. Tying it all together, the line between critical thinking, metacognition, and self-regulation is often blurred. Art Costa's Habits of the Mind ties these 3 processes together beautifully. This is just a visual representation, just showing all the 16 habits of the mind kind of going into the mind. Now on this next slide, we actually focus on the 16 habits, and you can actually see some examples of each one. As you read through them, you'll notice that they involve critical thinking, metacognition, and self-regulation. So when students are engaging in these habits of the mind, they're actually engaging in all 3 of the thinking processes. So implications for the classroom. Teachers have a responsibility to teach thinking skills, and students must have the content knowledge, so we need to tie the 2 together. One way to do this is scaffolding thinking questions. When students are going to begin a task, you can have them go through those self-regulation processes. What are my goals? What are my steps in getting there? Assess themselves in the middle of the learning. What have I accomplished? What do I still need to do? Do I need to change what I'm doing? Also, teachers can ask probing questions. Things like, why did you do this? Or why do you think this is the outcome? Or how do you think that this would affect? So that students are having to give justifications and explanations of not only their answers, but also the process that they use to get the answers. The Socratic method can be used to have them have discussions where they're actually continually defining their thinking. During projects, teachers can ask the students questions in the beginning, the middle, and the end so that they can reassess their thinking. And also pay attention to curriculum, because a lot of this is already embedded into the standards. As Albert Einstein said, education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think.